Hello, everyone. So we're going to break this one down still because we still have 40 minutes. So we're going to break it down to there, and then we'll do the last part by itself. Okay? Let's get with the video.
He's afraid of losing.
She did not use the N-word.
I think he was afraid of losing.
So, no, I don't think that that's what happened. But here's what's cool about it. McCain picked Palin. And then my mother said, I'm going to vote for Obama now for the opposite reason, which is McCain picked Palin as who's an idiot, a douchebag, a retard, who I personally love now. I'll get to that later. But you know what I met her? Did I tell you? I met all these. It's crazy how many of these people I met. She said he picked McCain to get the woman's vote.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get a smart woman's vote by picking somebody like that. So I'm voting for Obama. And then later I checked in with my mom when Obama became president and made Hillary Clinton Secretary of State, which is a far more important position than I called my mom and I said, you got to give that to him. And he didn't run on it. He didn't say to the women of the world, I'm going to give, he didn't tell anybody. He gave her the job because he thought she had earned that job to actually do.
Yeah.
Not just the bullshit political position. She said, yes, I'm with you. And she ended up loving Obama. But Sarah Palin, amazing person. Amazing person. I mean, when McCain announced her and she spoke her first national speech and did the joke about, the difference between a bulldog and a hockey mom? Lipstick. And the place is going ape shit.
Yeah.
I was like, this woman's incredible. She was an incredible force in American history to me. And I was on an airplane one day flying home from LA and I got drunk on rum and coke. When I drink rum and cokes, it's like being on acid because you get a lift from the sugar and the caffeine, and rum is it's a mental drink, rum. And I start tweeting. I didn't know what Twitter was. I didn't understand what Twitter was. I just loaded it on my phone. I had about 5,000 followers. And I wrote something like, there's a family of Chinese people living in Sarah Palin's cunt. That's the only tweet I remember.
Yeah.
I want to fuck her tits with my father's cock. That's what I said. I just started tweeting about her.
Solid tweet.
And then, solid
like
tweet.
a Legion of Skanks fan.
And my Twitter followers, it's just going up. By the time the plane landed, I had 250,000 followers. I didn't understand what Twitter, they look at it on their phone.
Yeah.
I thought they go check the website and they look at my name. I didn't understand that people are getting like a phone call and seeing what I said and then sending it to their friends, and it's just exploding. Yeah. And then I get a text from Sarah Silverman who says, I have a friend that works at the White House who says, you should probably stop. You're getting yourself in some... And then the publicity head of FX wrote me and said, we need you to stop this. I didn't understand that everybody was reading it. I'm like, what? And I'm drunk. And I'm like, so what? Anyway, I was hired to host the Congressional Correspondents' Dinner. It's right before the presidential one, the White House. And Greta Van Susteren said on CNN, I'm boycotting that dinner because that pig, Louis CK, said these things about Sarah Palin. Also, the woman who testified for Congress to say that college students should have their abortions paid for, Sarah something, Rush Limbaugh called her a slut. He said, we're not going to pay for you to have an abortion because you're a college slut. And so all the Democrats were like, that's terrible that he called her that. But then Bill Maher called Sarah Palin a cunt and gave $1 million to Obama with a giant check. And then I said that she has Chinese people living in her cunt. I didn't call her a cunt. That's different. And I was going to host the dinner. So I found out, I called my mom. I said, I'm being boycotted. She said, get out. Call them now and say, you're not doing it. So I got out.
Oh,
I didn't do it. And I dodged the thing and it got weird and ugly. So I'm at SNL 40th anniversary and Sarah Palin is there. And I see her. I'm in the audience, which is all famous people, like the Rolling Stones, Jack Nicholson, all of the SNL that ever was, but also just the most famous people in the world. I was there presenting something, so I was there. And I look up and I just see Sarah Palin looking at me like this, like just looking at me. And I'm like, fuck.
Oh, shit. She knows. Oh, shit.
So and earlier than that, there was a documentary made about how much people hated Sarah Palin, and it was a big conspiracy. And that documentary was directed by Steve Bannon. And I was in it saying something about her. And my lawyer told me, and I said, well, tell him to take it out because they didn't have my permission. So he called Steve Bannon, and Steve Bannon said, well, I want to interview. He wanted to interview me. And I said, no, just leave. You can have the footage, but I don't want
Yeah.
Okay, so Sarah Palin, I'm at the SNL party afterwards, and she's standing right there, and she says, my nephew is a big comedy fan, and he said I have to say hi to you. And I said, I'm sorry. And she said, what? I said, I apologize. I said, I wrote some really awful things about you on Twitter. I would never apologize to
of course,
the world, but this woman's standing in front of me.
Of course.
I said, listen, that's not what I do is attack people. And I don't know if it hurt your feelings, but if it did, I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
And she said, well, that's really something. I really, really appreciate that. She said, if you ever come to Alaska, come and go ice fishing with me. And I thought, I might get to fuck Sarah Palin. And so she wrote a book and she put a little chapter about me. And she described that moment faithfully about how I came up and apologized to her. And she said, of all the things that all of the people said about me, the terrible things that were ever said about me, he's the only man that has ever apologized to me. So that's my Sarah Palin story. But okay, so Obama and then Trump.
And then Trump.
The seminal Trump moment that made him matter to me was the debate with the 16. He had 16 guys, 8 on his left and 8 on his right. And they were, Chris Christie, Lindsey Graham, fucking Bush.
Yeah.
Jeb Bush.
Low energy.
Just these guys, but without him on stage, they're all stars. They're all stars. Yeah. Fucking Ted and fucking
Rubio.
Wisconsin guy.
Kucinich?
No, not Kucinich.
Was it Kucinich?
Kucinich is an Ohio guy.
Yeah, but he was
a Democrat. No, he was a Democrat who was like an anti-war Democrat.
Oh, shit.
No, he was like a super liberal Democrat.
No,
guy.
Who's that weird looking?
Kasich.
Who's the weird dude that was Romney's vice president nominee? Wasn't he a Wisconsin guy? Ryan?
Oh, yeah, Paul Ryan.
Yeah, but he wasn't up there.
No, he didn't. He didn't run.
Yeah.
By the way, just to
Huckabee.
Paul Ryan, I don't think he ever ran for president. He was always in Congress, and he retired. 2018, somewhere around there.
Romney for 1 second, because I didn't like Romney.
Yeah.
Because he was a venture capitalist with what do you call the fund? Those funds. Hedge fund. These guys ruined capitalism. Capitalism used to be make the best of something and make a ton of money, or make the second best and kneecap the guy who makes the best, and which is fine. That's why we had VHS instead of Beta. Beta was better, but VHS just went after Beta and won. That's why we had IBM instead of Apple for a long time. Apple was better, and it's, by the way, why we have records. The grooves go up and down, which is stupid. They were better side to side, but that guy, that patent it's just bullshit. Romney, never liked him until the whole fucking Capitol riot thing happened. And then he did that thing where he stood up in the middle of that crazy shit after January 6th, after the riot. And he said, I know all of you are trying to serve your constituents by telling them what they want to hear. But why don't you help them, the people who you work for, by telling them the truth? And it was this raucous applause. And he looked at the applauding people, and it reminded me of the Reagan thing, because he looked at them like, why is that getting applause? That's just normal. What has happened to this country? So Romney's an interesting guy.
Yeah, you shouldn't get applause for doing the right thing. That should be what you do. Most politicians don't. And I'm circling both sides.
Yeah.
because of that.
I never really liked him.
I don't like him, but that was an interesting moment. That was human to me. And he kept his dog on the roof of the car. It was hilarious.
But he did do some.
He would drive with his dog on the roof.
What?
I mean, the dog was in a box. It wasn't like.
He just he seems like the establishment to me.
He is the establishment.
And so like
never had a shot.
he always tried to stop Trump.
Mhm.
So of course, no matter what he did, even if it
hated
did,
Trump.
Yeah.
But the moment that made Trump matter was when he was in that room and he said, "These guys are all crooks. And I'll tell you how I know, because I'm a billionaire, I'm a businessman, and I give them all money and the Democrats.
Yep.
And if I call them, they pick up the phone.
Yeah.
If I call any, and they're all like, you can't tell
What
people.
are you doing?
I was just sitting at home like, what just happened?
Yeah.
That moment was just like you could hear the country go, what the fuck is going on here? And every time he spoke at those debates and you just saw those
Got
guys
less and less.
peeling off
Whoever was
the
closest.
sides, and you saw him turn and you saw him reveal what people were over time also.
Yeah.
I remember Lindsey Graham saying, after Trump said some really super fucked up thing, I forget which one, Lindsey Graham said, for any of us looking for an off-ramp, this is probably the last one. And I thought, wow, Lindsey Graham's got it. Lindsey Graham gets it. And boy, I mean, that guy, what he revealed about Lindsey Graham and how fake he is and how full of shit he is incredible. Because Lindsey Graham announced to the world that this guy is a crook, he's abhorrent, that he's against everything that he's for. And then he defended him and he loved him and he just kissed his
Every one of
fucking
those guys.
ass.
Every one of those guys.
They're just so full
He was
of
up there.
shit.
He was up there destroying Chris Christie. Destroying him. He ruined his political career. Chris Christie was supposed to.
He called Ted Cruz's father. He called him responsible for killing Kennedy. I think he even called him a Mexican or an illegal immigrant, something like that. Yeah. Oh, and he was that Ted Cruz's wife. He bashed, called her ugly or something like that. And Ted Cruz now is just like, "What can I do for you, Mr. President?"
To be something.
That guy, I think, might be president.
And then
I think Chris Christie might be president.
I think
Chris Christie has had a journey, same as Nixon did. Nixon was toast. He had to give a speech on TV saying, "I'm keeping the dog that I shouldn't." He had to give the checker speech, and then he ended up being president twice. It didn't end well. But Chris Christie has had a fucked up life, but he's also had a real, like, his, drug addiction in his family. That he gave one speech about drug addiction that was like off the cuff. That's like one of his best moments. It was passionate. He's another guy that I met.
Chris Christie had been running, but has since dropped out of the 2024 presidential campaign. I think he's pretty much done. He seems very logical. I like listening to him. He does not like Trump. But I don't have a problem with him. I could vote for him, but it would really depend on who he was running against.
Barely. I was walking in an airport after he'd washed out of the election, and I was in an airport, and there was Chris Christie alone with his big suit and his Hudson News airport bag with like a heavy drink and snacks in it.
Soda.
And he was just walking, and he saw me, and I think the recognition was just like, we're both pictures on Twitter, and he just went like this, and I just went like that, and he just looked sad in the airport. But then I saw him on Bill Maher recently, and he took some tough questions, and he sounds like he
did all right.
He's got some grit to him, and he's got some complexity and some dimension, and I think he's digging his heels in and thinking about what he believes now.
Because there was one, I think it was right after him and Trump obviously Trump killed him. And then he's standing on stage with Trump at another rally, and Trump's like, "You can go." at like he
Right.
he introduced him and then was standing there,
He
and
said,
he was
"You
like,
can-
"You can get off the
Oh
fucking
no,
stage."
he was being
Wow.
as brutal as Trump was.
Yeah.
To the people around him, including Giuliani, who used to say "shut the fuck up" to Giuliani. He curses at him in front of everybody.
Yeah.
He shits on all these guys. Now that is an incredibly fast and powerful engine. To be Trump, you just shoot to the top. But it's unstable. It's like Caligula. It's the same fucking thing. He's everybody around you hates you a little more each day.
Yeah, it's Jackson.
Yes, and also no goals, no real goals for the country, just a win-win-win, which can get you to win to a certain degree, but there's a limit to it. I'm not talking morally. No. I'm talking about what works.
Yeah.
And I think that he's come to a critical place. I don't know if he'll win again.
I don't even think he's going to run.
I don't think he'll be president.
I think DeSantis is going to run.
But
I don't know anything.
No, but when he was running,
I'm sitting here like, you know who I think I've got my eye on? The governor of Florida. I don't know a fucking thing.
I don't know either. And I think that his win changed everything.
His win changed everything.
And
maybe for the better.
Everything has both sides.
Yeah.
Every single change that comes to your life has both sides, good and bad. It has pain and healing. And if you resist pain, you're not going to get the healing. If you try to freeze the moment of happiness, you're going to miss the sad on the other side, which you need. You need it. Otherwise, you're not living in the real world. But the thing I would have said to we were just talking about Trump. The thing about these guys is, this is what I think about Christie. Okay, he's got an idea in his head of who he is and what he believes in. That's what I feel when I see him talk now. And that's what these guys are usually missing, the ones who lose. Like, I used to watch American Idol. Love that show. I love any show that's like emotional. So yeah. I watch Deal or No Deal. I used to watch that all the time. You ever watch that show?
Yeah, it's great.
I was watching Deal or No Deal because I was depressed and I didn't want to change the channel. And I was just staring at it. And it was a Marine who was, during the Iraq War, he was in New York on leave. And they talked to him. He's got all his medals. And he says, I'm a little bummed because my family lives in San Diego and I don't have time. I'm only here for 2 days. I go ship back out. And so, of course, Howie Mandel goes, well, they're here. And we flew him out. And his little girl, is crying, and he takes one knee just like Nixon did in my dream. And he hugs his little girl. She's crying and he's crying. It's huge.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there, I'm starting and my lips trembling.
Of course.
And then they do the crazy Deal or No Deal, which is America.
Fucking losers.
Just keep going, keep going, keep going. And there's always this moment where they're like, and the guy's going, oh my God, you could be, this is it. You've got $250,000, but you could get 10 million. And the guy's like, oh, and then he goes one step too far and the lights come on and it's depressing.
Back to Iraq, motherfucker.
Yes. Well, that's what usually happens.
Yeah.
But whenever somebody hits, I'm going to take, everybody's going, don't, keep going. He goes, no, I'm stopping here.
Yeah.
They always go, oh, thank God.
Yeah,
Thank God. I
couldn't
they help
clap.
myself.
Yeah.
So this was one of those moments. He had a ridiculous, if you know the game at all the little baskets were gone. They were all retired. He had one for 10 million over here and whatever, crazy numbers. Yeah. And then one that was like $5, but 8 of them were good.
Yeah.
And he had something like $250,000 on the thing. And everybody's saying, go, go. And he tells them in his military way, quiet. He says to his little daughter, you understand what's happening here? You understand how likely it is, how good the odds are that if I go one more step, I could get more money? I'm not doing that with your future. And I was sobbing. I was just such a good man. He's such a good man.
If you don't know, Deal or No Deal, you've got your... I used to watch the show a lot. I really liked it. You got your host, Howie Mandel, and you got a person. And then they're standing on a stage, and then there's... the stage goes over and it's kind of like a few steps, and I don't remember how many women, beautiful women in dresses, and they all have right next to him, they're standing next to a podium with the briefcase. And I don't remember how it starts, but I believe you pick a briefcase. I say there's 20 briefcases. You decide briefcase 18. So briefcase 18 goes off. And then you select like 3 briefcases you want removed. And so they'll pick the 3 and then they open them up and they show you the dollar value that was in there. And I saw one where this guy knocked out like $1. He knocked out 5, 10, 100, whatever it was, the smaller ones. And he had the big money left. And after you knock out the money, then a financier, which is just a silhouette of a guy on a phone, calls Howie Mandel. Howie Mandel then tells you, okay, look, the guy wants to buy you out. Based on the percentage of what's left, he'll give you $2,500, $2,500. No. Okay, boom, you continue. Based on the percentage, he's going to do something. You lose that big $1 million one. Let's say you're up to $310,000. You lose the $1 million. Now maybe he drops you down to $117,000 for the average. And you may never get back up to that 300. And so there really isn't strategy. It's all about luck and how you're going to pick your numbers. And it's so fun to sit there and watch. And I'm always saying, go for it, go for it, go for it. I didn't care how much money they had because I wasn't going to be the one who lost it. Go for it, go for it, go for it, go for it. And I remember, I think one of the last ones I ever saw, this guy picks his case. Oh, and then it comes down to where there's like a couple cases. And you can swap cases, I believe. Or you can stick and you'll take whatever's in your briefcase over the offer that the guy had. And I've seen people open up that briefcase and it's like $1, $100, $1,000. And once you've refused the $250,000 and you're going to take what's in your case and you open it up and it's $100, that's what you get. That's it. But I remember one guy saying, I feel lucky, man. I've won the lottery. You know, I won like $5,000 in the lottery. I've done this, I've done that. I'm feeling good, man. He picks his case and he's like, I got the $1 million case. All right, knock out these cases. Boom, boom, boom. They open up the first case. It was like the million or whatever. And he was like, you saw that man die right there. Just the only thing he didn't do was cry. I was watching. I was like, oh. If anybody in the moment could have just said, can we just redo the whole game, please? Can we hit the reset button? Because this isn't fair. I mean, right off the bat. And I think he knocked out like the 1 million, or he knocked out the million, and then like the 700,000 or something. It was just like, dude, you've done nothing but hurt yourself. It was, and that was one of the last ones I ever watched because I was like, oh, this guy's going to end up with the $1 case. You just knew how it was going to work out. I think that guy might have walked away with like $70,000 or something like that, but it wasn't good compared to what he could have gotten.
But I was talking about that because something else just like that. I've lost my mind at this point.
Yeah,
Do you remember how I got to Deal or No Deal? I was talking about
Trump, and we were talking about fuck.
I had a point.
What's his name?
Good.
Christie's talking.
Oh, American Idol.
Yes.
Whenever they sing a song on American Idol,
this is crazy.
I know.
This is crazy.
I know. And Simon and them are asking them.
We
like,
fast forwarded those fucking first 10 presidents, and now it's just like American Idol. This one time.
Whenever they sing a song and Simon says you're a little pitchy, whatever.
Yeah.
The thing I always want them to ask these kids is, do you know what that song's about? Do you know what the song is about that you're fucking singing? You know, like Clay Aiken, one of his big hits was Bridge Over Troubled Water. And he sings like a bridge over troubled water.
Yeah.
You know what that song is about? It's about like when you have nothing, when your life is shit, when you're down and out. I will lay myself down like a bridge over troubled water. You can walk on me. Like, that's a profound and deep thing. Another one was a kid who sang, I hear a train a coming.
Yeah, Folsom.
Yeah, and he's singing it like this. I hear a train coming.
Yeah.
Woo! It's coming. He's literally between going, woo! It's coming around the bend. And I see the sunshine. That song is about a man who murdered somebody just to watch him. I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die. And the sound of the train, because he can picture the cigars smoking. I bet they're smoking big cigars. That it tortures him to think of the freedom. He goes, I know I got it coming. I know I can't go free, but I hear the whistle blowing, and that's what tortures me. And he says, if I had all the money in the world and I was a free man, all I would do is move that railroad a little bit further down the line so I wouldn't have to hear the whistle. Like, all he asks for is that the train was a little further away, that good life was further away. And this kid is singing it like it's great, because he just wants to win. He wants to be a winner. He wants to be loved. He wants to connect with the audience. To me, that's Trump. To me, the great presidents have been guys who are like, when I got an idea, I know what I'm singing about. I know what.
I'm going to go back a little bit, and we will start over with Trump and the human story. Yeah, the American national anthem. You know, we hear the music playing and everything like that. If you ever get a chance, there are some videos out there. They're not 100% accurate, but you should watch some, if you're interested. Watch something on the true story behind the how the national anthem came about. It was the War of 1812 with I guess I'll sum it up. It's the War of 1812 with England. Francis Scott Key was sent down to negotiate some freeing, like on a one person basis, and he was talking to the Americans in the ship in the prison area, and he was telling them that they're going to attack Fort Henry. And so he was basically staying there. They want the flag on the rampart to be lowered. And so, all the people are wanting to know what's happening. And tons of ships, British ships, are firing on Fort Henry. And Fort Henry wasn't just a military fort. There were families there. There were women and children. And so they opened fire, and then eventually they turned to start trying to hit that flagpole to take down the flag, because they would say, okay, well, your flag was lowered, so you surrendered. And the next day, Francis Scott Key went in to see what all had happened, because it was still hanging. The pole was still at an angle, and the flag was just, it had been ripped to shreds. So he went in to investigate, and he found there was just nothing but bodies. And they had ran over, and they were trying to hold that pole up because they did not want that. They refused to allow that flag to come down, because that flag meant something to them. And they refused to allow that flag to come down. And they put their life on the line to make sure that flag stayed up, knowing that the fort's being bombarded, knowing that flag was being bombarded. They ran over and they held it up, and they died. And they were replaced, and the next person died. And people sacrifice themselves to keep that flag up. So if there's any question as to why Americans are proud and they hang up their flag, and it goes back to that. It's it goes back to the first Olympics, the Olympics now that we know. There was an Irish immigrant, don't remember the name, but everyone would come in with their flag, and then you would dip it down like that to the host country. They still do it. You know what I'm talking about. This Irish American was so proud of the country that he refused to dip that flag. And he said that the colors on this flag don't dip to anyone. They will stay exactly where they are. And so that's why the United States today does not dip the flag out of sign of respect. they refuse. And it goes back to that war and the people who died to keep that flag up. So it's a very sad story. First time I heard it, I got a little teared up. Kind of feeling it now. So I'll go ahead and end the video here, and I will be back. I'm gonna take a little break, but I'll be back with the last part. So there's a thanks button. You can donate to the channel. You don't have to. All donations are appreciated. You can request videos if you donate. They move to the top of the list. You can still request if you don't donate. They just take longer. Subscribe. Sorry, I thought I was going to hiccup. It didn't, and then it did. Subscribe to the channel. That helps. Give a thumbs up. And until next time, have a good day. Have a good night.